Scenes and soundtrack of BSO Resound, a six-piece ensemble rehearsing and performing. Lisa Tregale, head of BSO, participates.
Inclusion is key to all the work that we do. It's society and processes that disable people, not the people themselves. And it's actually about people's abilities and what people can do, not what people can't. And we need to, as arts leaders, be able to facilitate that. Changemakers was a fund initiated by the Arts Council and is a response to the acknowledgement that BME, Black, Minority, Ethnic and disabled artists are underrepresented in leadership in the arts sector. So they created this fund for organisations to be able to pitch, to be able to identify a changemaker, to work with them in the company and for us to support artistic leaders for the future. So we identified James Rose to be our changemaker from a very open application process and interviews. And once we identified James, we knew we had something really special, not just because working with an artist in a way that we don't normally work with as an orchestra, but his personality and his drive. And it felt that this was a time to say something significant and special to our sector about the way that we work with disabled artists.
James Rose, conductor. It is fair to say that this project has helped me launch my conducting career.
No, my conducting career.
We have really kick-started something. Which has been picked up all the way around the world.
All the way around the world.
It was really quickly identified that as a conductor and director, an artistic director, James needed an ensemble to work with. And although we have plenty of ensembles at the Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, we wanted to maximise the opportunity to engage with disabled artists. So the decision was made to create a disabled-led ensemble, which then became BSO Resound.
BSO Resound in rehearsal. Philip Howells, percussion, BSO Resound.
I felt like the BSO Resound had a lot more to offer than just being a disabled-led ensemble. It offered many people the opportunity to play in an ensemble that really challenges the diversity of disabled people with autism, blindness, partial deafness. And so I felt really interested, felt like a grand opportunity, and I felt like I didn't want to pass out on it. I wanted to audition right away.
When we started this group, I thought, well, how on earth is this going to work? I never played in anything like it in my life, none of us had. Will it work? How is it going to work? How will James relate to it?
Roger Preston, cello, BSO Resound.
And I've been amazed by actually how easy it's been, really.
There are different types of people with different kinds of disabilities, and it definitely challenges me to learn every single one of them. I mean, when it comes to learning their advantages and disadvantages, because I feel like I can definitely offer my ability. Even though I'm autistic, it has its downsides, but it also has its upsides as well.
Of course, we've had challenges and we've had to sort a lot out and, you know, build it up and get it to a high standard. But I think we've achieved a huge amount in the short space of time. I was offered the role of James Rose's mentor, and I tried to sort of be standing at his shoulder whenever I can to offer any advice. So as an extension of that, of course, I've also been a member of the Resound Ensemble.
Frank is also another amazing mentor. He has also supported me with developing a way of studying and marking up scores.
Developing a way of studying and marking up scores.
Which is actually a very personal thing, unique to each conductor.
Very personal thing, unique conductor.
Well, as a conductor, you are the center of the attention. So it is a lot about communication.
Frank Zielhurst, mentor.
Making sure that you tell the story of the music that you want to share with both the musicians in front of you and the audience. Of course, with these first steps, there's a lot of questions that come up. I try to help him answer the questions that he might have.
Being in rehearsals with Resound is a totally eye-opening experience as well, because in some ways they're exactly the same as any other ensemble. They have the same problems they have to overcome with the music, but they're totally unique in their own way as well, that they've found ways to help each other out, whether that's giving audio signals to each other, whether it's visual signals for others, finding bits in the music to help each other out.
Alison Holmes, BSO Participate Coordinator.
Part of what we really wanted to do was go and see young people and show them from really early on that disability is fine, this is what you can achieve as long as you work hard, no matter even if you have a disability or not. So part of that was to do schools tours.
BSO Resound in a full school hall.
So we visited 4 schools in Poole and 2 in Corfe-Mullen, one of which was Lockyer's school that we were really, really lucky to go to. We had such a great audience there, so many questions that they all wanted to ask the ensemble that we just didn't have enough time to answer them all. But we got some really, really insightful, thoughtful questions as well.
What inspired James to be a conductor? James, what inspired you to be a conductor?
And it's just showing that from that early age, people don't see the disabilities. All they cared about was the music. So the BSO being so inclusive actually means it gets the best talent it can get. Nothing is viewed on whether it's physically capable to get somebody onto the stage or whether they can actually play the music with standard scores. It means that anybody, as long as they have the talent, will make it work.
Dougie Scarf, CEO.
I think one of the interesting outside perceptions of symphony orchestras is whether they are as open and understanding of societal trends, because we're so focused on doing this amazing thing which is symphonic music. And I think one of the things that's sort of challenged us is to almost look back on ourselves and say, actually, are we looking and responding at societal trends and actually using our music, and where does music take place within that environment?
Jenny Wingfield, Head of HR.
All BSO employees, board and key stakeholders attended this half-a-day training with Tony Heaton, who's a specialist in delivering disability equality training, and that was hugely powerful. We had people at the beginning asking me about why they were there, why was it relevant to them, and at the end of it, people completely understanding now what the social model was, thinking about the barriers, thinking about disability not just being about physical disability, but actually all sorts of disability that affect people's day-to-day lives.
As soon as you look at the social model of disability, you suddenly realise what we're missing as a company. And actually, a lot of the things that we thought were absolutely correct and normal and right actually aren't any of those things.
When I usually audition for orchestras, it's like we had to try and not mention autism as much, because usually they just write it off as a disability that doesn't qualify you a place in the orchestra, which I think that's not true.
It's been totally life-changing for me personally, just working at the BSO, because they totally understand my own disability and it doesn't impact how they view me being able to do my job, whereas in other places before here it has.
Alison, presenting BSO Resound.
So being able to go into work and know that I'm not going to be judged on my own disability, and neither is anybody else. That it's an even playing field. It's really life-changing for me.
So the Diversity Champions are a relatively new group of people that have got together on a voluntary basis because really of their interest and their passion for diversity within the organisation. We've had some incredible meetings and incredible ideas and things already that have been implemented, but in particular looking at the way we recruit, the way we audition, looking at the way we communicate, and things that really we've never I've never thought about that people want to actually put in place. And that group of people really are going to continue with change makers and actually sustain change in the whole organisation.
I don't think any of us really realise just the extent of the impact that doing this work would have on the company. Clearly there's an obvious impact on the amazing musicians that we're working with, but I think it has really transformed the way that we think. It transforms the way we approach so many different parts of our work. We're now re-looking at how do we audition, how do we give the confidence for people to come forward, these amazing musicians that we now know aren't coming forward because of the barriers that we put in there. So that in itself has a fundamental impact on how we look at the work that we do and actually frankly how we look at ourselves.
It has made me think about all the assumptions that I've had about working in inclusion over 20 years. About the way that you work with individuals, the way that you communicate yourself as an arts leader, the way that you can empower people to follow and take risk. I've been amazed by the stories I've heard from individuals who I've met through this process, both positive and unfortunately incredibly negative, which has enabled me to reflect on the way that I work to make sure that I don't do the same things and put those people in compromising positions or by no intention put up barriers. So for me it's about looking at my practice and how I can very easily in some cases remove barriers there that prohibit people from participating and achieving their full potential.
I think what has struck me is regardless of who you speak with at the BSO,
regardless of who you speak with at the BSO,
absolutely everyone who works there is 100% behind what we're doing. Which I think is why this has worked.
Even if we only help a modest number of people around the world, that would be a wonderful achievement. And we might end up helping a lot of people by, hopefully, I mean it sounds a bit blowing our own trumpet in a way, but by inspiring people that, you know, this is possible, you can do this. We are just musicians, that's what we do.
Changemakers is just the start of the process. After this initial funding period for us, this work continues. It's embedded into us as a company. The position of champions will continue. We'll continue to look at the way that we work. BSO Resound will become part of our ensemble portfolio, performing alongside all the other BSO ensembles, whether that be in rural areas, in educational contexts, or on the main stage. When we started Changemakers, we sort of had an idea of what we might do and what might happen. We left that behind 2 months in. We have learnt things we never comprehended we'd learn. We've worked with people we never thought we would work with. And again, the effects on us as a company, but the wider sector and society, just people writing to us, just saying the impact that this work has had on them, just in the small amount of time that they've engaged with it, has just been phenomenal.
I will always want Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra to be viewed as a world-class orchestra working across the region that we work in. But actually, in the 21st century, we must be making world-class inclusive orchestras. And I think what has been really remarkable about this way of working and actually the way we are where we are now as an organisation is that there's a clear resonance. There's a clear resonance in society. There's a clear desire and a clear willingness for this to happen. But I think the long-term legacy will be when we don't talk about it anymore because we are inclusive and we've reached that point.
I really want to encourage everyone to do this. I think sometimes the starting point can be quite daunting, but just do it. We don't have all the answers, I don't have all the answers, but if you go into it with a really open mind and be open and have a really clear dialogue with people, then amazing things can really happen.
Changemakers was funded by Arts Council England, and this video was supported by Disability Arts Online. Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra would like to thank everyone that supported the Changemakers programme and BSO Resound, with special thanks to Sue Thomas, Chris Thomas, Dave and Jan Pointer, and Allianz Music Insurance. BSL Interpretation, Steph Davis. Bournemouth Symphony Orchestra, www.bsolive.com.